history and civics. This is the first topic that we will be beginning with. When you say about what happened, which second chapter is it? Okay. Since today, is this chapter completed? No. Okay, we'll first begin with this, and after completing this chapter, we'll go back to socialism. Is it okay? It's coming for exam. Hardly it will take 2 hours, but it will get over. Don't worry. And we'll go back to socialism in the next class, okay? I was informed to teach you this chapter. We'll begin with this. In the next class, we'll take social. Okay, now we all know some things about a forest, right? A forest is not something very much new to us. We all have heard about it. We all know about it. What a forest is. How many students are there online? It's a student. Anyways, yeah. When we say forest, what are the things that comes to our mind? Sources, animals. Yes. Okay. What will happen if you just go on cutting all the forests? क्या हो जाएगा? सारे पेड़ काट दोगे, जंगल नष्ट कर दोगे. Say? Yes, oxygen. Yeah, there will be no oxygen. Animals will have no place to stay. Yes. Then birds will lose their homes. Where will they build their nests? So this is what was happening with that. In 1600s, in India, suppose consider this is as India, it's 1/6 part. Let's say this much part of it was under the cultivation. Cultivation means agriculture and all such things were done. But by the time Britishers came and they started establishing their colonies in our nation, almost half of the area had gone under cultivation. That means you can imagine so much of forest was being cut down to bring the land under cultivation, under agricultural activities. So what will happen? Our India is having a limited land mass. Yes, you want to increase cultivation means you will not get an additional land. ले लो 10 hectare land ले लो 5 acre land ले लो उस पे cultivation करो. No, it's not possible. Land mass is fixed. So if you want to increase cultivation, naturally you have to cut down the forest to get that additional land and put it under cultivation. So in this whole process, India was losing out on its forests. All the forest resources that we had, we were losing, and that was such a on a large scale that this deforestation started taking a toll. Toll on whom? On the tribals, on the villagers who were most dominantly dependent on these forests. Tribals, so basically they are staying more in the forest part, and they are away from the mainstream. Mainstream यानी जो लोग कोई दूसरे इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज से एंगेज होते हैं उसमें वो लोग इन्वॉल्व नहीं होते. They are mostly dependent upon the forest, on the forest resource, fuel, wood, gum, and other things. Yes, come. They are dependent on that, and if you remove all this forest, then they will have no place to go and stay, right? So in the later part of this chapter, we will be studying that how this deforestation has affected the tribals and what rebels they did, what rebellion they conducted, to oppose this type of deforestation. Now, by the time this Britishers had come and they had set their boundaries in India and they started their colonial rule, even the food demands had gone up. Food demands were raising. So people had no other option than putting the land under cultivation and destroying the forest and taking it under cultivation. So even people were not resisting. See, whenever you are trying to put some new rule or make a new policy, people are of both the sector. They will say don't do, some will say do. But in this situation, since the population was also increasing, demand of food was increasing, people were in the favor कि काट दो पेड़ और हमको जगह दे दो ताकि हम कल्टीवेशन कर सके. And more or less, I'll tell you one thing: when you are putting a land under cultivation, under agricultural activity, naturally you will be earning money from it. Yes or no? When you are doing agriculture, you get money. Forest से आपको कुछ पैसा मिलेगा? नहीं. Forest में तो पेड़ अपने आप खड़े हैं. But when you start doing cultivation, when you start doing agriculture, you are most likely to earn money from that. So जहाँ पैसा है वहाँ तो लोग हामी भरेंगे ना, तो वो लोग भी फॉरेस्ट को काटने के लिए तैयार होंगे. And when Britishers they came, what they did on this forest which was cut down of the trees, they started to they started cash crops, commercial crops also you can say. Commercial crops. Now what are commercial crops? The coffee, yes. Here what they are giving you: jute, sugar, wheat, and cotton. पैसे मिलेंगे भाई, एक होगा ऐसे तो पैसे मिलेंगे. अगर आप इनके पौधे लगाओगे तो आपको पैसे मिलेंगे. So farmers are also happy that they are getting so much of money after cultivating this, harvesting this. So they also did not oppose much oppose नहीं था. Tribals का तो था फिर भी opposition, but regular जो farmers थे, they were like happy because they were getting money. And these Britishers used to take all these crops from India as a raw material, and back in Europe they used to make processed goods out of it, bring it back to these colonies, and these same raw products ले गए थे, उनका finished product बना, उसको higher price में इंडिया में बेचते. Okay, understood? After is there any doubt? So now in this part you have seen how the demand for food grains was increasing. उसको satisfy करने के लिए, industrial production में लाने के लिए, we needed commercial crops. These commercial crops were provided by cutting down of forest and putting the land under cultivation. You know, by the time it was 1920, around 6.7 million hectare of land was brought under cultivation. How much? 6.7 million hectares of land was brought under cultivation. मतलब इतनी बड़ी एरिया को आप कल्टीवेशन में ला रहे हो, एग्रीकल्चर के काम में ला रहे हो. So you can imagine so much of forest must be brought down. And you know, Britishers they always felt कि forest बेकार होता है. Forest होना किसी भी एरिया में, they always felt that it is very unproductive. What did they say? Unproductive. इससे तो भाई पैसे मिलते हैं, फॉरेस्ट से क्या मिलेगा? कुछ भी नहीं. This is what they thought, and they said that forests are quite unproductive. They are not going to give you any benefit. Rather than these commercial crops, these cash crops, they will give you a lot of money. So why to waste land in doing this forest area or putting up all those forests or taking care of the forest? Rather, it should be brought under agricultural products that will yield you revenue. This is what they thought. And people also they felt that if we have forest, then that is of no use. इसके अच्छा तो हम लोग ये commercial crops लगाएंगे, पैसे मिलेंगे. Then another thing I'll tell you why this deforestation took place. It was because in the early 19th century, in Europe में जितने भी oak trees थे, उनको काट दिया गया. यूरोप में जितने भी ओक ट्रीज थे उनको काट दिया गया था. क्यों काटा था? Because they had to build ships. अब उनके बड़े बड़े ट्रूप्स थे, उनकी बड़ी बड़ी सेनाएं थी. They had to take them from one place to another. Wherever they had set up their colonies, they had to transfer their troops. They have to take them, their luggage, these raw materials, all these things they had to transport. For that they needed ships, right? And in those times ships were not made of iron and steel. अभी अगर आप देखेंगे ना बच्चों तो आपको ships iron और steel के दिखाई देंगे. But in those times ships were made up of oak trees. wood of oak trees. Why oak trees? Any idea why oak trees? It's coming. Yeah, it's a strong wood. It gives a strong wood. It rather gives you a durable wood. Durable timber. What it gives you? Durable timber. पानी में जल्दी से ये डीके नहीं हो जाएगा, खराब नहीं हो जाएगा. So they used to make ships of oak trees. अब अपने जितने भी थे oak tree वो तो काट दिए, खत्म कर दिए यूरोप में. अब इंडिया में आ गए. इंडिया के सारे ट्रीज गिराने लग गए. इंडिया में जो भी ओक ट्री था, साल ट्री था, टीक का वुड था, वो सारे फॉरेस्ट नष्ट करके वो यहाँ से सारा वुड लेकर यूरोप जाते थे और यूरोप में अपने शिप्स बनाने के लिए यूज करते. Followed? Any doubt up till here? And in those times, they had started railway facility also. तो अब रेलवे चलाने के लिए आपको ट्रेन चलाने के लिए क्या जरूरत होगी? ट्रैक्स की जरूरत होगी. यस, वेरी गुड. तो ट्रैक्स में क्या होता था ना उस समय में, यहाँ दो रेलिंग्स है. These are two railings. These railings were made up of iron, but these railings had to be held together, and they were held together by these horizontal marcations that I have done here. These are made up of timber, wood, and they are called sleepers. What are they called? Sleepers. Yes, these are called sleepers on tracks. So ये tracks पे जो sleepers लगे हुए हैं ना, they were of wood. And इन्हें बनाने के लिए भी उनको trees के या timber की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है. And for that also they used to do deforestation. ये जो timber होते हैं ना बेटा, ये timber इन्हें यहाँ पे जो sleepers चाहिए, so just for 1 mile to lay a track of 1 mile distance, they required 1,760 to 2,000 such wooden sleepers to lay tracks of 1 mile distance. तो आप सोच सकते हो कि कितने पेड़ों को काटे गए होंगे. In around in Madras presidency, I'll tell you, they had cut almost 3,500 trees in 1 year. Where? In Madras presidency, to make these sleepers on tracks. Okay, you can note down these points in your book. I give you time, 5-10 minutes. You all note down. Once you finish writing, just let me know. Then see, one more reason why they were cutting down trees was plantation. So they have cited many reasons. First was they wanted to grow commercial crops जिससे कि पैसे मिल सकते हैं. दूसरा उन्हें शिप बनाने के लिए वुड चाहिए था. तीसरा उन्हें क्या चाहिए था? स्लीपर्स ऑन द ट्रैक बनाने के लिए वुड चाहिए था. अब चौथा रीजन है प्लांटेशन. Now what is plantation? When you clear a particular land, okay, you are clearing a particular land to grow some type of cash crop. Now this cash crop here is usually tea, coffee, jute. Okay, when you want to grow such things, rubber. In your book, they have given you about rubber and coffee. When you want to grow such cash crops or commercial crops, and these coffee and all these things, they were new for the Indians at that time. ये पहले से नहीं थे हमारे पास, शायद हम लोग के पूर्वज नहीं पिया करते थे. So people did not know how to grow tea, how to grow coffee. So what they did, they brought European planters. इन्हें लेके आए, यूरोप से planters को ले आए. They brought European planters, and these planters were asked to grow this coffee and rubber on. What happened? These European planters were asked to grow tea, coffee, and rubber and all such other things on this land. Okay, so this was the fourth reason why they encouraged deforestation. अभी बच्चों यहाँ का तो उन्होंने अपने यूरोप के ओक ट्रीज को गिरा दिए थे. They had finished off the forest in their land. यहाँ पे आके यहाँ के भी पेड़ पौधे काट रहे हैं, तो भी टेंशन क्यों हो रहा है? अपने पेड़ तो खा गए, हमारे पेड़ थे वो भी खा रहे हैं, पेड़ तो बचेंगे ही नहीं इसमें. ये कहाँ से शिप बनाएंगे आगे चल के? तो भी टेंशन. क्या करें? कुछ तो आइडिया करना पड़ेगा, कुछ सोल्यूशन देखते हैं क्या सोल्यूशन है. I hope you all have noted this. Even if you have not noted, just write plantation, that's such. अब इन्होंने क्या किया पता है? They invited, इसे इन्वाइट किया जर्मनी से एक आदमी को, and his name is Dietrich Brandis. They invited this man from Germany. His name is Dietrich Brandis. इन्हें क्या किया? इन्हें first forest inspector बनाया गया. He just first inspector general of forest in India. He was made the first inspector general of forest in India. अब इन्हें क्यों ले आए थे? Because they were tensed. They were finishing up all the forests of. They had already finished up from their land. Now they are finishing up the forests of India. So they wanted to devise some plan, to avoid the reckless cutting of forests from India, and they wanted some technique कि जिससे उनको इंडिया की जमीन, इंडिया का सॉइल यूज हो सके wood मिलने के लिए, and at the same time the forest should also be conserved. Conserved not in the sense for goodness or making some positive growth in the environment form. It was because of their selfish vested interest only that they wanted to conserve. But they invited him. And what this Gentrich Brandesky did, he gave an idea of scientific forestry. From Germany, and he said कि हम scientific forestry बनाते हैं. And इस scientific forestry में उन्होंने बहुत सारे rules लगा दिए, बहुत सारे restrictions लगा दिए. The local people who were going in and out of those forests and coming and collecting fuel wood, firewood, सब पर रोक लगा दी. All was stopped. किसी को भी अंदर जाने नहीं दे रहे थे forest में. उन्हें fuel wood चाहिए, खलेने नहीं दे रहे थे. They wanted to collect herbs, leaves, medicinal roots. They were not allowed to do anything inside the forest because he put up a lot of restrictions. I mean, scientific forestry क्या होता है? चलिए ये समझते हैं. See, what is scientific forestry? This is a piece of land. Okay, this is a piece of land. It is having a variety of forests, a variety of trees. Okay, there are many species. There is a lots of diversity. Okay, on this piece of land, there are many trees. अब कुछ medicinal herbs है, तो कुछ timber देने वाले पेड़ पौधे हैं, तो कुछ फूल देने वाले हैं. पूरा साफ कर दो. Cut everything. What this scientific forestry said? Clear of the forest. Don't keep a single tree. Okay. Once you have cleared of this forest, this scientific forestry, it asked us to plant only those trees which the European colony wanted. That is teak, sal, oak. अरे भाई मतलब तो इन्हीं 3 पेड़ों से था ना उनको यही 3 पेड़ तो चाहिए थे wood के लिए for their ships or for making sleepers on track. उन्हें ये diversity से क्या लेना देना? They had nothing to do with the diversity of forest. They just wanted timber for they making their ships, for making their this navy and sleepers on tracks and all that. So what they decided, we remove all the forest and we will plant only these teak, sal and oak trees. Follow what is scientific forestry? Okay. और वो भी कैसे प्लांट करते थे देखते हैं. Suppose this is a piece of land that they have just now cleared. They have removed all the trees from there. एक ऐसे रो में trees को plant करेंगे. Okay, they were all planted in these rows. अभी scientific forestry में क्या होगा? This year, suppose 2020, let's say, if they want a particular amount of wood, then they will clear off these 2 rows. ये 2 रो के trees काट देंगे जिसमें से उनको wood मिलेगा. They will require teak, sal, oak trees from these 2 rows, and then they will immediately replant them. Okay, so जिससे क्या होगा? They will have continuous supply of timber. Yes or no? Once they are clearing up these 2 rows, they will again replant the same trees at those places so that they will have a continuous supply of wood. Any doubt in scientific forestry? Understood? Note it down. Have you finished? And whatever they are planting here, no, in these rows, they call them as plantation. Points that you would add, okay? In जो rows में they had planted timber, sal and oak trees, they call them as plantation. Finish noting that. This, what he did, this person who had come to India as the first Inspector General of Forest Services in India, he established Indian Forest Service. Indian Forest Service in the year 1864. And he also brought up a Forest Act. Indian Forest Act. Indian Forest Act. When did he bring Indian Forest Act? Just a year later. ये 64 में आया था, ये 65 में आया. So what is this and why did he bring both these things? See, this Indian Forest Service is still there. We still have this Indian Forest Services, and every year we conduct UPSC exams, where they elect an officer for this Indian Forest Service. And we brought up this Indian Forest Act. अब देखो, लोगों को आप मना करोगे जंगलों में जाने के लिए, पेड़ काटने के लिए, आपकी बात कोई मानेगा? नहीं मानेगा, because they naturally needed those forest products, so they will go and they will cut the trees. So उन्हें रोकने के लिए कुछ तो चाहिए ना कानून. They needed a law to prevent them. So these rules and these restrictions which he had laid out, that he gave them a legal form by bringing this Indian Forest Act, and he brought this act in 1865. जिसमें उन्होंने सभी लोगों को, जो भी वहाँ ट्राइबल एरिया में रहते थे, उनको फॉरेस्ट में कैसे भी वो पड़े जाते थे, जो भी चाहिए काट के ले आते थे, उस पर बैन लगाया. It was totally prohibited. And if they do, they will be punished. They will be punished according to this act. Follow? अभी साइंटिफिक फॉरेस्ट्री का वंडरफुल कॉन्सेप्ट जो वो ले आए थे, वो इतना ज्यादा वंडरफुल तो था नहीं, क्योंकि उसमें स्पीशीज डाइवर्सिटी को ही बर्बाद हुई. बहुत सारे लोगों ने they said no, this is not a good idea, this should not be done further, because this will be very harmful for the environment, many species will be destroyed. But European colonies, they were not ready to listen to anybody. They had their selfish interests and do what they had decided. But they also needed something where they could teach this type of scientific forestry. अभी बना तो दिया, अब इसको पढ़ाएंगे कैसे? So to teach this, they set up an imperial forest research institute. And where it was set up? It was set up at Dehradun. In 1906. The scientific forestry का जो concept Dietrich Brandis ले आए थे, he thought that he will set up an imperial forest research institute in Dehradun and he will teach this type of concept to everyone. क्योंकि अगर पढ़ाएंगे, लोगों को ये सिखाएंगे, तभी तो लोग वो प्रैक्टिस करेंगे. हर फॉरेस्ट में एक ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर तो खड़ा नहीं रह सकता ध्यान रखने के लिए. लोकल पीपल ही तो फॉरेस्ट को एक्सेस कर रहे थे, तो लोकल पीपल्स को भी तो पता होना चाहिए ना कि फॉरेस्ट में किस तरह से वुड हम ले सकते हैं, हाउ टू ग्रो वुड इन द फॉरेस्ट एंड हाउ यू कैन एक्सप्लॉइट द फॉरेस्ट रिसोर्सेज. एंड टू टीच देम दैट, to teach them this concept of scientific forestry, he set up this Imperial Forest Research Institute. Now this act which was passed, this act was amended 2 times. Now what do you understand by the word amendment? Change, yes. So this act was changed, it was amended 2 times. First time it was amended in 1878 and the other time it was amended, it was in 1927. अभी amendment क्यों किया होगा, changes क्यों किया होगा? Because rules तो बनाया, punishment भी decide किया, कानून भी बना दिया, but फिर भी इंडिया बहुत बड़ी जगह है और बहुत सारे फॉरेस्ट थे इंडिया में, लोग तो फिर भी नहीं मानते थे, चुपके जाते थे और सारा कुछ जो भी उन्हें चाहिए चुरा के ले आने लगे थे. So they had to make a very important changes to the forest system of India, and for that reason they amended, and these 2 are the years when they amended this Indian Forest Act. After the amendment, उन्होंने क्या किया? I hope you all have noted this part. Shall I erase this? Any doubt, students? समझ आ रहे हैं क्या पढ़ा रही हूँ मैं? After this amendment, they divided forest into three parts, three types. First type was reserved forest. What was it? Reserved forest. Second was protected forest. And the third was the village forest. अब ये जो रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट डिक्लेयर करते थे ना बेटा, in that region the local tribal and the village forestmen were not at all allowed to enter. उन्हें घुसने भी नहीं दिया जाता था रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट में, because that was completely converted into that scientific forestry. अच्छे खासे टीक, साल, ओक के पेड़ लगा के रखे थे. अब वहां अगर विलेजर्स जाने लगे, ट्राइबल लोग जाने लगे, काट के अपने घर ले जाने लगे, तो वो जर्मनी से आर्मी को बुलाने का क्या फायदा, फिर उससे वो साइंटिफिक फॉरेस्ट्री करवाने का क्या फायदा. Everything, all their efforts would have gone in vain. Yes or no? So what they did, they reserved certain forests. Reserve means वहां जाने पर भी रोक लगा दिया. They were not even allowed to enter the forest. Then second was protected forest. Protected forest में the villagers were allowed to enter. आप जा सकते हो, but you are not allowed to cut forest or cut tree, anything. कुछ भी आप वहां से wood वगैरह नहीं ले सकते. You can go there for grazing. If you want, you can collect some vegetables or some leaves or some medicinal herbs or something if you want, but you are not allowed to cut any tree. Follow? What are protected forest? Protected और reserve में difference समझा बेटा? यहाँ तो घुसने भी नहीं देंगे, यहाँ आप घुस सकते हो और थोड़ा बहुत कुछ grazing वगैरह करना है तो कर सकते हो, बाकी trees नहीं काट सकते हो. And then there was village forest. यहाँ आपको जो मर्जी है आप करो. Okay, the villagers were given full freedom. आपको जो भी wood cut करना आप करो. You want to take fuel wood along with you, you can take that. You want to grow something new plant, you can grow that. But इसमें problem क्या हुआ? ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा area they kept as reserved forest. Very little area was given for protected and village forest. Hardly ना के बराबर. तो इतने सारे ट्राइबल लोग जाएंगे कहाँ पे wood लेने? अगर आप थोड़ा सा ही एरिया उनको दे देंगे उनके डिस्पोजल में, और बाकी बड़ा सा बड़ा एरिया if you reserve it as a reserve forest and are not going to let them enter also, then how will they sustain their livelihood? That was the problem. Clear up clear बच्चों, any doubt? This part. Yeah. Then बेटा जो लोग वहां रह रहे थे ना, the people who were staying nearby the forests or the villagers, they had a very different view and perspective of how a forest should look like. उन्होंने बचपन से एक diversified forest देखा था. They had seen a forest with lots of different plants, shrubs, herbs, animals, insects, plants, trees. और इन्होंने आके क्या किया? इन्होंने तो सब एक ही टाइप के ट्री उगा दिए जिनसे उन्हें बेनिफिट था, from which they got a profit for themselves. So villagers and Britishers had a lot of differences in their perspective. Perspective means नजरिए में, दोनों के नजरियों में बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस था. Now why this differences began? These villagers used to use medicinal herbs. Then they used to use some roots. They used to use leaves for their benefit, for their own use. Now, for example, a pumpkin देखा आप लोगों ने, सबने देखा होगा pumpkin, yes? तो उसके अंदर का जो वो fleshy part रहता है, if you remove that and if you let the outer skin, dry and solidify, this can be used as a pot to store water. This is what those villagers did at that time. And naturally, they were not much acquainted with the use of metals and all that, so they didn't know how to make metallic pots and all. Earthen pots they used to make, but this was another type that they used to use. Then nowadays we carry our water bottles with our wherever we need to go. But in those times, you have seen this bottle gourd? Yes. इसका भी अगर आप flesh और जो pulp रहता है अंदर, इसको if you remove it and if you dry it and let it get solidified, it can be used as a water bottle. And this is what they did. Those tribal people and the villagers, they used to use such type of things. When the forests are not there, how will they use these things? And they also used paper plates, not paper plates, they used leaf plates, leaf bowls. मंदिरों में कभी देखा है आप लोगों ने, देते हैं वो प्रसाद वगैरह, क्या कहते हैं, द्रोण में देते हैं. They are made up of leaves, dried leaves. They will nicely stitch, and then they will put eatables inside that. Even the South Indian weddings, if you have seen, they will use those leaves, as plates. Same thing they used to do, and they used to sell that and earn money from that, But when the forests are destroyed, अंदर ही नहीं घुसने दे रहे, very destroyed, मतलब उनको जाने ही नहीं देंगे. They are not allowed to enter inside the forest. They are not allowed to collect whatever things they want, material they want from the forest. Then naturally they will not be able to use all these things. Then they always dreamt of a forest with diversified species, diversified plants, and insects and animals. And इन्होंने तो सिर्फ teak and सार के पेड़ लगा रखे थे. उन्हें तो जीन का एक पैटर्न ही चेंज कर दिया गया था. Suddenly, if someone comes and asks you not to breathe, to hold your breath forever, will you be able to survive, bacha? No. Hardly 5 minutes you can hold your breath, and after that you need to breathe, right? It's a very necessity for sustenance of life. So the same thing happened with them. Things that were very, very important to them, things that were very important for their sustenance, they were not allowed to use that. So ऐसे करेंगे तो चुप रहेंगे क्या बेटा, कहीं ना कहीं तो गुस्सा आएगा ना. There will be a feeling of rebellion. Then they have also given you an example that when the fencing, if there is a small house inside this, तो इसका जो fence होता है, that also they used to make of trees and bamboos and cane and all that things. Then further they have given you an example of a plant called mahua. ये महुआ का पेड़ ना बहुत अच्छा होता है, बड़ा सा पेड़ होता है. इसके फल जो लगते हैं वो रात को गिरे रहते हैं जमीन पर. And next day morning, the village women used to go there and they will collect the fruits of mahua tree. And the fruits they used to make alcohol, and the seeds of this fruit used to be used for extracting oil, which can be used to lamp lights in the house. Naturally, they didn't have electricity at that time, so they used to lamp lights with the oil of this mahua tree. And further, they have also given you an example of a plant called siari. Yeah, siari. Siari is a form of a creeper, beta. Nowadays, we all use plastic ropes, right? If we want to tie a rope somewhere, we use plastic ropes. But in those times, the tribals and the villagers, they used to use siari tree. Siari is also known as Bahurina. That's some scientific name that they have given here. And this creeper here was used to make ropes. Further, they have also given you a plant called sable. This sable is called silk cotton. क्या कहते हैं बेटा इसे? Silk cotton. Yes. इसका अगर बाहर आप देखेंगे ना तो कुछ ऐसा रहता है. It has these protrusions. The bark of this tree, it has such small protrusions, and it can be used for grating of vegetable. अगर pumpkin का grate बनाना है या onion को grate करना है या आलू को ग्रेट करना है तो दिस कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर ग्रेटिंग. बात का एक हिस्सा ले आएंगे और उसके ऊपर ऐसे सीखेंगे. नाउ वी हैव गॉट सो मेनी नाइस स्टील ग्रेटर्स एट होम बट दोस पीपल यूज्ड टू यूज लाइक दीस थिंग्स. नाउ दिस फॉरेस्ट एक्ट में सब कुछ हटा कर उनको कुछ नहीं मिल रहा था. ये सारी चीजें they had it as a part of their livelihood, and due to the forest act that they had passed, the Britishers had passed, the people were not allowed to go inside the forest. They were not allowed to take their animals, their cattle for grazing. चारा तो चराना पड़ेगा ना बच्चों, गाय को भैंस को, तभी तो वो जाके आपको दूध देगी. अगर आप चारा ही नहीं खिलाओगे दूध कहाँ से देगी? खिला देगी तुम लोग को. दूध मांगे आ रहे हो चारा तो दे नहीं रहे हो. Yes or no? Smile, smile. Don't say so serious. Smile बच्चों. तो फिर चारा चराने के लिए लेके जाना पड़ेगा बट फॉरेस्ट में घुसने ही नहीं देगा. हाउ विल वी टेक देम? सो नेचुरली कुछ ना कुछ तो भी आइडिया करना. क्या आइडिया करेंगे? चलो हम चुपके से जाएंगे पैसों को चारा खिला के लेंगे. पर पहले क्या हो जाता था, विलेज फॉरेस्ट के गार्ड्स कर देख लेते थे और पकड़ लेते थे. कह रहे ये तो रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट है. हाउ कुड यू एंटर इनसाइड अ रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट? विल नॉट अलाउ यू टू एंटर इनसाइड अ रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट. भाई चारा खिलाना है तो बच्चे ने कौन नहीं देगा दूध कुछ भी. पर मानते नहीं ब्रिटिशर्स. उनके गार्ड्स तैनात रहते थे फॉरेस्ट में और रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट में घुसने नहीं देते थे, चारा खिलाने नहीं देते थे, लीव्स इकट्ठे करने नहीं देते. फिर अगर पकड़े गए छुपके से जाने पे, जब पकड़े जाते थे ना उनको भारी पनिशमेंट मिलती थी. पनिशमेंट में क्या देते थे? पीटते. जो वहाँ के जेंट्स जाते थे ना गुड़ वगैरह खरीद काट के ले आने में, दे यूज्ड टू फ्लॉग देम. फ्लॉग मींस कोई रस्सी जैसी होती है लंबी और पतली, उससे लेके पीठ पर उससे मारते थे. और अगर औरतें पकड़ी गई तो उनके साथ इतना बुरा नहीं होता था, लेकिन उनके साथ भी हैरेसमेंट होता था. Now you have to take this log of food to cook food, right? जो भी खाना पकाओगे लाके हमें दो, right? घूस मांगते थे. समझे? क्या करते थे पकड़े जाने पे? Either they used to flog them or they used to ask them free food or they used to bribe them. Bribe ना पैसे तो देंगे नहीं, बहुत अमीर तो थे नहीं वो लोग, they were very poor. So they used to ask them to give food or forest product, whatever they had collected. In other short words, if I say the forest, the villagers, the people staying in the forest or the tribals, their life was like hell. They were not allowed to move from the forest and they had to face a lot of harassment. Now, one more thing I will tell you. Copy this from the book. Yeah, right. And then I'll teach you one more concept. finished? These are the common villagers and the tribal people. Besides them also, there was a community of people. They practiced another type of agriculture that is known as shifting cultivation. What it is known as? Polo shifting cultivation. It's also known as within cultivation. Within cultivation. इसमें क्या होता है बच्चों? Shifting cultivation means, suppose this is a piece of land and it is completely occupied with forest. This piece of land is completely filled with forest. Now there is a tribal group. Let's name the tribal group as A group. Okay. What this A tribal group will do? It will go on this forest land. It will take this much plot of that forest land. It will clear it off. पूरा यहाँ से forest को काट देंगे. Okay. सारा forest गिरा देंगे. और उसमें से जो ट्रीज गिरे होंगे, उसका जो वुड गिरा होगा, उस सब को जला देंगे. What they will do? They will burn it. अब बर्न करेंगे तो बर्निंग के बाद क्या निकलता है? Then you get ash. Very good. So they will get ash. Now this ash, it's a rich source of potassium, phosphorus. It's a very rich source of all these minerals. जो कि ये fertility, soil fertility के लिए बहुत अच्छा होता है. And this ash, they used to leave it there only. They will not touch this ash. पहली बारिश होगी, मानसून सीजन आएगा, पहली बारिश होगी, तो ash क्या हो जाएगा? थोड़ा गीला गीला हो जाएगा. Yes. Then they will go and they will sow seeds inside this. Inside the ash, they will sow seeds. Then by the time it's October and November, the plants will be grown. They will get their crops. They will remove all the crops that they have got. And once they are done using this plot of land, they will shift to a different plot of land. Okay. And before getting back to the previous plot, मान लो यहाँ से शिफ्ट होके यहाँ गए, फिर वहां गए, फिर ऐसे घूम के फाइनली यहाँ रोटेशन में आते समय इस प्लांट को बैरन छोड़ देंगे फॉर नेक्स्ट 12 to 18 years. How many years? 12 to 18 years. पहले एक बार इस पर कर दिया, इस प्लॉट पे शिफ्टिंग कल्टीवेशन कर दिया. So then after returning, before they return to this part of land again, they will leave it barren for 12 to 18 years. Now, what was the reason that they were leaving it barren for next 12 to 18 years? So that the soil can regain much more fertility. आप लगातार बार-बार एक ही लैंड पे अगर एग्रीकल्चर करते हो, तो फाइनली एक मोमेंट के बाद वो फर्टिलिटी कंप्लीटली लूज कर जाता है. And in those times, they did not have artificial fertilizers that we use these days. That was not available at that time. So they had to completely rely on natural fertilizers. और natural fertilizers तो with time ही मिलेगा ना. Naturally जब डीके होंगे substances तभी उसमें fertility add होगी. So in order to let the land regain its fertility, they used to leave it back for next 12 to 18 years. Then after this 12 to 18 years, they again come back to this land and then they'll again grow their crops. This is what the tribal people were doing. अब इससे भी ब्रिटिशर्स को समस्या हो गई. अब इससे क्या समस्या हुई? आज एक ट्राइबल ग्रुप यहाँ पे फॉरेस्ट में अपना शिफ्टिंग कल्टीवेशन कर रहा है, कल घूम के यहाँ चले गए. टैक्स कैसे लेंगे इनसे? ये लोग कहाँ घूमते जा रहे हैं, इनके पीछे पीछे ब्रिटिशर्स को भी घूमना पड़ रहा था, तभी जाके उनको टैक्स कलेक्ट करने को मिल रहा था इनसे. तो उनको हिसाब ही नहीं लग रहा था कि ए ट्राइबल ग्रुप कहाँ गया, बी ट्राइबल ग्रुप कहाँ गया, सी ग्रुप कहाँ गया, फिर इनसे टैक्स कैसे लेंगे? हाउ विल दे कलेक्ट देयर टैक्स? That was a very big issue that the Britishers started facing with this type of shifting cultivation. You are understanding what I'm trying to tell you here? Then the second thing that they felt problematic was, मान लो ये फॉरेस्ट है, इसके बगल में ही इन्होंने साइंटिफिक फॉरेस्ट्री कर रखी है, यानी कि रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट प्लांट करके रखा है. अब यहाँ पे ये ट्राइबल ग्रुप ए जो है ना, इट हैज कट डाउन द ट्रीज and it has put fire over there. It is burning all this forest. Chances तो होंगे ना कि वहां से आग के लगते जाएंगे और इसके रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट को भी जला देंगे. Yes or no? अगर ऐसा हो गया तो इनका तो सारा साइंटिफिक फॉरेस्ट्री पानी में फैल जाएगा. So they said that you will not do this type of shifting cultivation as it is putting our reserve forests under risk, risk of burning. इन फॉरेस्ट में आग बहुत जल्दी पकड़ता है क्योंकि सब जगह पे वो ड्राई वाला वुड होता है ना, तो उसमें बहुत जल्दी फायर पकड़ता है. So they say that you are not going to practice this type of shifting cultivation. If you are doing this, the first thing is they were having problem in collection of tax, and then the second problem was the reserve forest might get the flames and they might be burned. Okay, then it was very hard for them, to calculate the taxes. So they started issuing a complete ban on this type of shifting cultivation. तो इससे क्या हुआ, लोगों को बड़ा गुस्सा आ गया. They felt that the government is trying to take away their whole and soul livelihood. But ये जो लोग शिफ्टिंग कल्टीवेशन में जो प्रैक्टिस करते हैं ना, these are the tribal people. इनके पास इसके अलावा और कोई सोर्स नहीं है खाना पकाने का, खाना ग्रो करने का, because they don't own any land. They are not owning any piece of land in their land. वो ऐसे ही शिफ्टिंग में रोटेशन में जा जाके अलग अलग पीस ऑफ लैंड पे दे do their agriculture and cultivation. And if you ban them from doing that, फिर क्या करेंगे वो? एक ही तो काम था वो कर रहे थे. उस पे भी अगर आपने रोक लगा दिया, उसको भी अगर आपने बैन कर दिया, then they will have no other opportunity to do anything else. So they faced a lots of economic problem and they thought of doing a rebellion. यानी इसका विरोध हमें अब करना चाहिए. Note it down. ये जो शिफ्टिंग कल्टीवेशन है इसे स्वीडन कल्टीवेशन भी कहते हैं. Besides this, also this has got many other names that has been given in your book. First name that they have said is lagging. It is also called as lagging in South America, Southeast Asia. It is called as lagging. It is called as milpa in Central Asia. Write down these names also. They are also very important in isolation. So you can make a mnemonic also out of this. Lagging for Southeast Asia. So SAL. Okay, you can remember like this. Southeast Asia lagging. Okay. Then milpa for Central Asia. So you can write Central Asia, CA, and milpa, can. Okay, you can remember this. Then one more name they are giving you. That is Central America. Let's change it. Then chickmay or tabby. Or tabby. It was called as chickmay or taggy in Africa. अब इसे कैसे याद रखेंगे आप? अफ्रीका का ए लिख देंगे, फिर CP, ACP. That's another mnemonic. Then it was called as Chena in Sri Lanka. Chena in Sri Lanka. श्रीलंका का SL लिखें, फिर C. Besides that, it is also known in India by different names. These names I'll write it on one corner. In India, it was what? In India, it was known as Jha, Mewar, okay, Jhum. Jhum cultivation, it's a very common name. It is known as Jhum cultivation. It was also known as Mewar. Penda, Purun. Few names you can remember. Note it. Laring in Southeast Asia, Milpa in Central America, Chickmene or Teddy in Africa, Chena in Sri Lanka, and it was known as Bha, Mewar, Jhum, Mewar, Penda, Pum. All these names are local names. Okay, what 52. अब बच्चों जहाँ एक तरफ विलेजेस को एंड लोकल ट्राइबल ग्रुप्स को घुसने भी नहीं दे रहे थे, कहाँ? फॉरेस्ट में. यस, आपने so let's start. क्या एक तरफ बच्चों कॉमनर्स थे, जो विलेजर्स थे, जो ट्राइबल लोग थे, उन्हें जंगल में घुसने नहीं दे रहे थे, उन्हें अपने चीजें मिलाई थी, उनकी चीजें लेने नहीं दे रहे थे. On the other hand, what they were doing, you must have heard about hunting. You know what hunting is? What is hunting? Animals. और उस समय में जो वो मुगल रूलर्स करते थे, या जो भी थे किंग्स एंड द एम्पायर्स एंड ऑल, दे यूज्ड टू गो फॉर हंटिंग. और वहां के एनिमल्स को अपने शौक के लिए मार देते, अपने प्लेजर के लिए मार. They used to get happiness by killing animals, and that is known as hunting. To just kill animals, and for their pleasure, they used to do. Mughal or the other kings or the emperors, they used to kill animals. They used to go for hunting. अब जहाँ आप एक तरफ कॉमन विलेजर्स को घुसने नहीं दे रहे हो, वहाँ आप इस तरह की हंटिंग को प्रमोट कर रहे हो. और ऊपर से ब्रिटिशर्स क्या करते थे पता है? What Britishers used to say, that if there are many tigers, wild animals, leopards, then that will make India uncivilized. क्या बनाने के लिए आपको? ऐसा हो सकता है किसी वाइल्ड एनिमल के रहने से कोई एरिया कभी अनसिविलाइज्ड होगा? नहीं होगा. But they used to say that if there are lots of tigers, cheetahs, leopards in any particular, then that area, that land is how uncivilized. बिल्कुल मतलब बहुत ही पिछड़ा हुआ है ऐसा उनको लगता था. तो उसको कुछ पॉश बनाने के लिए, उसको मॉडर्नाइज करने के लिए, उसको बेहतर बनाने के लिए उन्होंने पता है कितने टाइगर हमारे 1000 टाइगर्स को मार दिए. अंदर तो कितने लेपर्ड्स मारे उन्होंने? 1,50,000. 1,50,000 लेपर्ड्स को मार दिया और 80,000 टाइगर्स को मार दिया. और उस समय ब्रिटिश what they did, they used to say that we will give you reward. क्या देंगे? Rewards. If you go and kill a tiger, you will get so much of money. If you kill and bring the dead body of a leopard, you will get this much of money. एक तो ऐसे ही वो लोग गरीब बेचारे लोग थे, villagers. They had no money, they have no food, and on top of that, if you tell them that we will give you reward, then naturally they will be very happy, and they were very skilled hunters. वो उसी विलेज में रहते थे, उसी फॉरेस्ट में रहते थे, तो naturally they knew ना where the tigers are staying, where the leopard is, at what time the leopard will come to this lake to drink water. Everything they knew. They were very skilled hunters. ऐसे skilled hunters थे, वो जाते थे, वो tigers को मार देते थे, leopards को मार देते थे, and then they used to get reward. तो इससे क्या हो गया? पूरा जो वो food chain का cycle है, वो बिगड़ रहा था. Horribly it was getting destroyed. You know, on top of that, there was a Maharaja. The name of the Maharaja is Maharaja of Sarguja. Maharaja of Sarguja. Sarguja is the name of a place at Chhattisgarh. इन्होंने 1157 टाइगर्स मार दिए. कितने टाइगर्स मारे? And how many leopards did he kill? 2,000 leopards. आधी जिंदगी तो नहीं बिताया होगा उसको काटने में. Yes or no? 1,157 tigers and 2,000 leopards को मार दिए. ये एक और बंदा है, इनका नाम है जॉर्ज यूर. विदेश से आए थे, यूरोप से. इन्होंने 400 टाइगर्स मार दिए. लेपर्ड शायद इनके हाथ नहीं लगे, लेकिन टाइगर इन्होंने मार दिए. कितने? 400. जो ये विनाश का तांडव मचा रखा था, that was between 1875 to 1925. यानी 50 साल के अंदर इतना नुकसान कर दिया फूड चेन का. So many animals they killed. Why? In order to make India civilized. ये सब रहेंगे तो क्या हो जाता? Uncivilized था. तो बड़ा civilized बनाया है. 80,000 tigers मार दे रहा है. 1,50,000 leopards they killed. And that is the reason today we are having less than 3,000 tigers in India. Yes or no? So less tigers. I don't say tiger और ज्यादा होने चाहिए. हमें बड़े मजा आता है tiger के साथ. ऐसा नहीं बोलती हूँ बच्चा. But you know, they have a right to live. They are animals, तो क्या वो बोल नहीं सकते? They cannot defend themselves, so we will do injustice with them. That's not fair, right? Nature has given an equal opportunity for everybody's survival. So they killed all these animals, disturbed the environment cycle, food chain. अभी हम चिल्लाते हैं कंजर्व करो, एनवायरमेंट प्रोटेक्ट करो, एनिमल्स प्रोटेक्ट करो. इतना जो भारी नुकसान हुआ है इसमें. Jot it down in your book.